Alright, so beginning this off with your regular eyes. Most common things in eyes are usually, the shape of the eyes, which is, simple. And then we always have the iris, and there's the pupil, right? We have there's a layer of fat above your eyes, like this region. So that will always cast shadows, and above that is the eyebrows. Now for the eyebrows, right, usually when you draw realistic eyebrows, what you want to do is single strokes to like realistic hair texture, if that makes sense. Now you can always stylize this and just go for like this kind of thing, which usually works in anime, or just a single stroke. Honestly, that works too, but realistically, this is how you would usually go about it for the eyebrows. So for the iris, right, it's always usually it's like this, spiky random patterns. And then we have the eyelashes, which is again the same technique we applied for the eyebrows. We just draw single strokes. The most important part that makes the eyes look like the eyes, I mean, but like adds values to the eyes, is the highlights. It's usually like the same color, just a bit lighter than the shade of the iris, like this. Yeah, this one right here. As you can see, these are all the stuff that I just did before recording this. And you will always find common traits in all of these eyes, no matter how stylized they are. There's always gonna be eyebrows, no shit, and there's always going to be your long eyelashes, and there's the fat layer I was talking about, which casts shadows and stuff, and there's always highlights, right? There's gonna be pupils, there's gonna be iris. That's a no-brainer. You see the highlights, there's always the brows, there's always the shadow forming here. The thing with art, right, there's a 80-20% rule that every artist usually follows. So 80% of the eyes is always going to match the realistic eyes, and it depends. I mean, not depends, but that just happens with every body part, not just the eyes. If you're, let's say, making your own character, 80% of the character design is still familiar, it's the same, but the 20% that you have is you can manipulate it, you can just change, you can do whatever with that 20%. Anime eyes, for example, usually always really huge. So 80% of the eyes is still the same. The shadow forming area, you have the actual eye, this right here, huge ass iris that we got, pupil inside, and then we have the color of the iris. We go with this light shade, you get the point. It still matches the realistic eye, it's not that different. There's going to be eyelashes. Let's just add, I'm gonna shade this area. The mistake that I did here is the pupil, right? People always tend to forget, but the pupil is actually inside the eye. It's not like on the iris itself. It's deep within the iris. It's not on top of your lens of the eye. So technically speaking, the iris, the pupil should be actually a bit deeper. Now, obviously, there's going to be highlights certain parts of the eye, like this, for example. Let me just show you an actual better example. There's a highlight over here, as you can see. There's a highlight right there. Every eye follows the same shit. Even if it's anime, 20%, only 20% of the eyes are changed. Now, let's look into some more details of the eyes. So, eyes being one of the most expressive parts of the body, a lot of things change about the eyes, depends on your emotion. Let's say you wanna show shock. So the space between the eyebrows and the eye can show shock. For example, if, let's just Google some of the examples, because I'm low-key like really bad, not in the mood of drawing. And pull this up here. As you can see, eyebrows are getting close to the eyes. That can show anger, shock, for example. What people usually struggle with while drawing the eyes, I feel like they kind of forget where to place them in the head. So, for example, you're drawing the face. What a lot of people get wrong, from what I've seen, is when they draw the eyes, they just place it in this region. The thing is, it's not just just sitting there. What happens is the eyes are actually inside the socket, which means if you draw a brow line, the eyes are literally indent. They're like inside your socket. You see this right here, notice how the eye is like inside. If our eyes were like literally just sticking out, it wouldn't look like that. It would literally, instead of being inside in this region, it would be over here, which is not the case. So I feel like a lot of people kind of forget that, and their eyes look really awkward at times. Your eyes are supposed to be inside this box, and the dent And then you have your nose that is going outside. I'm kind of messing up the perspective. Let's take a look at some examples of how you can actually stylize your eyes. So if I look at anime, for example, I'm not gonna spoil it. It's a character from My Hero, and the eyelashes, as you can see, these are really thick. Another example would be Gojo from JJK, right? JJK. You see how the eyelashes are so thick. Another thing you can change about your eyes, in order to stylize them, is changing how the pupils look. Pretty sure Fire Force is an anime where this one chick has like cat eyes, I believe. See, this pupils are that of cats. Why is she naked? What the fuck? Anyways, yeah, those are some examples of what you can do to stylize your character, and how I ended up with this. Basically, I was just studying eyes, and I felt like I could share some of the knowledge. So let's review some of the knowledge that we learned. This is all that I know for eyes. There's always going to be highlights. There's always going to be the dark pupil that we have. There's always going to be the iris, the white part of the eye. Again, I might be messing up the biology of how the actual eye works, but it is what it is. It's going to be eyebrows, and there's always going to be a shady part, which is basically caused because of the fat, which is like right in this region of the eye, if that makes sense. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Here's a time lapse of me drawing another eye, I guess.